Calaroga Shark Media. Hello and welcome to Romance Weekly. This episode is titled Love Letters.
Jenna, a seasoned Scrabble enthusiast with a sharp mind and a quick smile, was known for her love of obscure words. Across from her, newcomer Lucas, with his easy charm and keen eye for strategy, was proving to be a formidable opponent. As the game commenced, the tension between them was palpable, not just for the competition at hand, but for the unspoken attraction that crackled in the air like static. Lucas, drawing his first set of tiles, laid down the word flirt, his eyes meeting Jenna's with a playful challenge. 7 points and a statement, he quipped, the corner of his mouth tilting upwards in a smirk. Jenna, taken aback by the bold move but not one to shy away from a challenge, responded with intrigue, connecting to the R in flirt. "And I'll raise you 9 points for the intrigue you've started," she shot back, her eyes sparkling with amusement. The game continued, each word placed on the board carrying a double meaning, a dance of courtship played out in letter tiles. Lucas, with a strategic placement of smitten across a double word score, raised an eyebrow in Jenna's direction. 20 points. Seems I'm at an advantage, he said, his voice low and teasing. Jenna, in response, placed courtship down, the T linking to smitten, a bold declaration that earned her a hefty sum of points. "I believe the score is now in my favor," she retorted, her lips curving into a triumphant smile. As the game progressed, their playful banter and the words they chose wove a story of attraction, of two people discovering a connection in the most unexpected of places. Enamored, passion, yearns, each word a step closer, narrowing the gap between competition and affection. As the match between Jenna and Lucas intensified, both competitors were keenly aware of the dwindling space on the board and the precious few tiles remaining in their racks. Lucas, with a mischievous glint in his eye, eyed a spot on the board where he could add an S and an X to the existing E strategically placed near a triple-letter score. With a flourish, he placed the S, paused for dramatic effect, then added the X. He leaned back, a playful smirk dancing on his lips, as if challenging her to comment on his bold move. Jenna raised an eyebrow, her lips twitching into an amused smile. "Well, that's certainly forward," she teased, her eyes sparkling with humor. "But are you sure it's worth blowing your shot over? I mean, strategically speaking, of course." She glanced at the board, where the word had earned Lucas a modest sum of points, far less than some of the more elaborate words they'd been crafting. Lucas laughed, the sound warm in the competitive silence of the tournament room. "I suppose I could have played it safer, but where's the fun in that? Besides, I thought it might break the ice a bit more between us." Jenna, unable to resist the playful banter, leaned closer, her voice a conspiratorial whisper. "Consider the ice broken, but let's see if you can keep up with me without resorting to distractions." One particularly nerdy spectator, clad in a sweater vest adorned with alphabet tiles, adjusted his glasses and leaned over to his neighbor, a fellow enthusiast clutching a dog-eared Scrabble dictionary. "You know," he began, his voice a whisper of excitement, "he really wasted his X with that move. He could have played exotic using the E already on the board. It would have landed on the triple letter score for the X and stretched across to the double word score. A far more advantageous play both strategically and point-wise. His neighbor, a woman best described as low-key librarian, hot agreed. This neighbor, engrossed in the game and its unfolding strategies, carried an air of quiet intelligence. Clad in a soft cable-knit sweater that hinted at a love for cozy evenings with a good book, her presence was both comforting and intriguing. Her hair, pulled back in a loose bun, framed a face marked by gentle, thoughtful eyes, hidden occasionally behind a pair of vintage-inspired glasses that she adjusted with a delicate touch. The way she held her Scrabble dictionary, fingers tracing the well-worn pages with reverence, spoke of a deep appreciation for words and their power. When she spoke, her voice carried a warmth that was both inviting and authoritative. The word exotic, as it left her lips, seemed to unfurl like a secret, its exoticism accentuated by her clear, articulate enunciation as she nodded vigorously. The nerd awoke from his fantasy. Scrabble librarian was talking, absolutely, and considering exotic would not only have garnered him a hefty sum of points, but also opened up the board for future plays. It was quite the oversight. It's all about maximizing those high-value tiles, especially in a setting as competitive as this. Glancing at the board, then at his remaining tiles, he realized his playful move might have cost him a more strategic play later on. Hesitantly, Lucas reached out, his fingers brushing against the S as he contemplated swapping it for a different tile from his rack, hoping to pivot to a less provocative, more point-lucrative word. Before his intentions could manifest into action, the sharp voice of the referee cut through the tension. Once the tiles are played and your hand leaves them, the play stands. No takebacks in tournament play, the referee admonished, a stern look on her face that brooked no argument. Lucas withdrew his hand as if it had been burned, shooting an apologetic glance towards Jenna, who was trying her best to stifle a laugh at his predicament. "Well, I suppose that's one way to commit to a move," Jenna quipped, her eyes twinkling with amusement. "Fully embracing the spirit of the game, I see. Bold strategy, Lucas." Lucas, caught between embarrassment and the need to salvage the situation, chuckled sheepishly. "Seems I've laid all my cards on the table, so to speak. Hopefully it doesn't end up being a complete flop." Jenna, leaning forward, her voice low and flirtatious, met his gaze. "Well, it's certainly one way to spice up the game, but let's see if you can still win me over with your wordplay, now that you're fully exposed." The referee, shaking her head with a mixture of disapproval and amusement, moved on to oversee the rest of the tournament, leaving Jenna and Lucas to continue their match. The incident, far from dampening the mood, only added to the flirtatious tension between them, each word play thereafter laden with double meanings and shared smiles. The match reached its climax with the board nearly full, the air between Jenna and Lucas charged with anticipation. Lucas, holding his final tile, a Y, placed it with deliberate slowness, completing the word unity and connecting it to courtship. "Unity," he said, locking eyes with Jenna, "because I think we make quite the team." Jenna, her heart racing with a mixture of competitive spirit and burgeoning feelings, knew she had the perfect response. With a gentle smile, she laid down her final tiles, spelling out destiny and connecting it to unity. "Destiny," she echoed, her gaze softening, "because I can't help but feel this was meant to be." The bell signaling the end of the match rang through the room, pulling them back to the reality of the tournament around them. But as they tallied the scores, it was clear that the outcome of the game was secondary to the connection they had forged across the Scrabble board.
Romance Weekly is a Calaroga Shark Media production, written and hosted by AI McIntyre, produced by Mark Francis. Executive producers Mark Francis and John McDermott.
Calaroga Shark Media.